Now this, Todd will probably talk a little bit about it. This is actually, we put this on our website. There's a link, it's a huge map. You can't read it now, but you can zoom into it on our website. If you're doing property transfer inspections and you think that you're in one of these areas here, you know, it has Limaville, some areas down here in Canton Township, you know, this gives you a little brief description, but those are areas that we know that there's problems in. So when you go to a property transfer inspection, I know you guys already look hard now and hopefully probe and do everything, but this will give you a little bit of insight. If you have questions while you're out there or before you go out there, you know, call the sanitarian in that area. We have a little bit more knowledge in some of those areas. So this is on our website under go to Programs, Environmental Sewage Treatment Systems, and under the Property Transfer Program tabs, there's this, which is called, I think, Health District Problem Areas.
Problem areas, yeah.
Anybody have any questions about this map right now?
The reason why we posted that is because we realize that you do have a disadvantage to what we have, and that is our sanitarians are daily in these problem areas, and we're pretty well aware of them. And we know you don't know that. You may be in an older housing subdivision, you really don't have any reference point except maybe a record or a map that you called and got from us. But in a lot of those areas, there aren't any records. So what we wanted to try to give you is a similar tool. I mean, certainly personal knowledge beats this, but you can tell where different areas with these red dots are known problem areas in the county. Now, some of those, since this has been printed, 08, have already been started and taken care of. Some areas are getting sanitary sewer. They're on this list. I think down here in Robertsville, they had a storm sewer go in through that community, and we found a lot of problems as the storm sewer went in, so many of those septic systems have been replaced since this map was printed. So, but anyhow, it's a good reference point. Now, I want to show you one other thing that can be done with this map. These are the known large-scale problem areas. So, not every little area that has a problem is shown on this map. But, and I know you can't see it well, so I'll just kind of explain to you what's on it. Down at the bottom is a color key. And this is what this color key is going to help you do. The purple that you see are the sanitary sewers. So anywhere where there's purple, light purple, are sanitary sewers. The dark purple is cities and villages. And the lighter purple are the Stark County Metropolitan Sewer District sewers. So, we're going to exclude those. Now, what you'll also see here, you see this mixture of colors. And what we're doing is overlaying certain criteria to show you, kind of highlight areas that are problems. So the pinkish color here are areas of poor soils in the county, because we know that areas of poor soils have more likelihood of system problems. I'll try to read this myself here. The greenish color are small lot sizes. So green color and pink. So you got your pink with poor soils, you got your green color, your dark green color with small lot sizes. And then I know this is really hard to see, but you'll see it better online. There is a yellowish color on there which represents housing age. Anything older than 1975. So what you see is an overlay of poor soils, small lots, and old houses. You put those three together and you have a recipe for problems. And that's what this map is also trying to show you. So we're not just highlighting the known problems, but areas that have likelihood of problems. Now, is that a surefire? You're in there and you have the three layers overlapped each other. Does that mean it fails? No, that doesn't mean that at all. This is a tool for you to use, so you have a little more of the knowledge that we have when you go into a community that you're not routinely into.
All right. As far as on the report, I know we still have some questions about deteriorated boxes, collapsing boxes, why we need to pump. I just did some examples, why we need to pump or why boxes are collapsing. You see this whole side of the wall here is falling in on that box, and the water's fairly black. It's quite sludged up. You can see how much sludge and dirt and stuff is in this one leach line. That's why we need to pump. That's why we need to take care of the boxes. That's why we replace boxes. So this doesn't happen to your leach lines.
Jason, if I might go back to that for a second. I know this has been an area of confusion. Maybe Jason can elaborate on this a little further. On the inspection form, it talks about is it collapsing, is it deteriorating, is it inhibiting flow? So in the property transfer program, we've kind of honed in on the problems that will be fixed are those problems that are public health nuisances or have the imminent end of it all will be a public health nuisance. So if you have a box collapsing so that all the pipes are filled with dirt, we're going to make that property owner fix that problem. If it's collapsing on itself and all that stuff, just powder, that's going to get fixed. Now, if you have maybe more in the lines of the one to the left there, where yes, it's deteriorating, maybe even a chunk has fallen off of it, we're not chasing those things down. We will recommend to the property owner that they fix it, but we're not chasing those down because that is not a public health nuisance, nor is it immediately imminent. So when you mark those, that's what we're thinking. So when you clearly mark on your inspection form the box is deteriorating, that will not prompt, that'll be a recommendation. If you say it's collapsed on itself, that'll be a requirement to have that fixed.
And I think that's pretty straightforward, like I said. And the replacement of those boxes does not require a permit, so any installer can do it, a homeowner can actually do it. We just need to see proof, send an invoice.
What is Stark County's requirement for having the septic systems pumped?
I don't know if we have a recommendation. We usually say every about 3 to 5 years, but
I know Sumner County it is required every 3 years.
every 3 years. I think Phil.
Well, in Stark County, it's not a requirement because to actually make it a requirement means you got to follow up with it. We don't have the wherewithal to do that, but we have within this last year started a program that's been in the works for a while. We do send out pumping reminder notices. So what we do is we have all the information that comes in from the pumpers, and we should know all the septic systems in the county. So we subtract. If you've pumped lately, then you get subtracted out of the list of people who get a pumping reminder. So our interval is about 4 years. So if you're 4 years out, you're beyond the recommendation, so you're getting a pumping reminder.
It's time to explain to homeowners how important it is to have those pumped.
We have the same problem.
Because they just say, we'll get somebody and they say, well, we haven't had it pumped for 20 years.
Yeah. Yep. Have fun. The pumper's going to have fun with that, won't they? Yeah, absolutely. And certainly we even have people don't realize there's something after that tank. They think that, they can go 20 years and all they got is a 1,000-gallon tank, and you're just filling that slowly over time. We get a lot of that. Sure.
Yeah, they're filling it with sludge, and we've seen some. We've had some inspectors where this box has been almost entirely full of sludge, maybe some channels through here, and only imagine what their leach lines look like. It's probably they're half full of sludge if the box is half full of sludge. So that's why we need to pump it. I know that I think pumpers submit forms, or paperwork to fill.
Yes.
So that's why it's important for you guys, if you pump, to submit them so we know that those houses have been recently pumped. Yeah. Any more questions as far as collapsing distribution boxes, permits, no permits needed, all that? All right. This is also on our sewage system evaluation. I think it's confusing to some people, or some people don't know what we're exactly asking for. When we ask for outlet T or baffle, it doesn't mean this. It means this, or sometimes you see a concrete baffle, around here. A lot of times they're rotted off. I'll show you some pictures of that. But when you look at the tank and see some type of baffle like this in the middle, that's not what we're really looking at. We are asking for this information as far as connected to the outlet. That straightens some things up. People have questions about that? Because we have some people that say, baffles in place. And I get so many of those, I'm like, okay, is it actually a concrete baffle, or is it this, or is it this? Because a lot of times the age of it, a lot of these concrete things are just rotted off, falling off. That's where we usually recommend, or they've already replaced with the plastic outlet. So that's what we're asking for when we ask for outlet T baffle. It's not the one molded into the tank. It's the one actually molded in either to the backside of the tank or the actual plastic T itself. And this is just an example. You may see all kinds. This is actually a concrete when you see it here around the outlet. You can see all kinds of different shapes. They may be plastic bolted onto the wall. This one, you can see where it used to be at this height. Now it is corroded away and dropped over. Any type of surge is going to push that over into the outlet line. So this is what we're talking about, outlet baffle. And then outlet T we'll see on the next one. So, yeah. So these are just some repairs. You can see where this used to have something sitting here, and then they just replaced with the new one. Same thing here. You can almost see where the concrete baffle was there, but that's why when I see baffle okay, I'm like, most likely they're looking at that hanging baffle in the tank. All right. And I know there were some other questions we had as far as leach lines, filter beds, leach beds, what, sometimes we see filter beds and people call them leach beds, or sometimes we see leach beds and people call them filter beds. People know what the difference between filter beds and leach beds are. Leach lines is this here, which I think we all know. What's the difference between a leach bed and a filter bed?
One's got an outlet, one don't.
One doesn't.
Yes. The filter bed is going to have a drain. The leach bed is not. Typically, we use the leach beds, and we'll see some pictures of that. Leach beds are we're going to see in more sandier soils, better soils, where we can't get the square footage that we normally would on a property. So we use a bed versus a single leach line, 2 foot wide.
And to further complicate matters on leach beds and leach beds and sand filters, there was a day where people didn't want to say the word leach bed. And on a permit, you'll see this sometimes. A permit will say a outlet-less filter bed. So what they meant was you're putting a leach bed in, but you're not putting the collection pipe at the bottom. There was a time, I think, when that word was voodoo and nobody wanted to use it, so they kind of used code, and they said a code word, and that was a filter bed without an outlet. So that even further complicates things. You're looking for the outlet on a filter bed, and there isn't one. And you'll see that written on some of the old permits that get sent to you, so keep that in mind, too.
Yeah, those old permits, and like I've told you guys in the past, the top part can say one thing, the bottom part, usually the front and back, is totally different. Sometimes they call for leach lines, and you see 2 leach wells there. We always go by the bottom drawing. That's usually they change that out in the field, and they drew that on later. So make sure you always go by the bottom. That's why the verbiage is kind of messed up too. So if you're looking for a bed, look for a filter. Those filter beds, sand filters, those drain lines are deep. So you're going to be further down the hill, or that's what you need to look for. It's got to go all the way through that sand filter with the collection pipe. So this is leach lines. I think we all know that. Septic tank to a distribution box, and then 2 relative leach lines. Sometimes we have diversion box to distribution boxes. So make sure you're aware of that. So here's just a quick sand filter. So this is just a quick, and I have a couple other ones. This is just one big filter, sand filter, which goes into one large filter, and you can see the individual drain lines, and then it goes down to a collection line, which is down here, number 5, under drain. So this is what actually was in our old code. This shows two sand filters. So you might see this with a diversion box in the middle. So you see it coming from the septic tank to a bed here, and then the homeowner most likely doesn't do it, but they usually should switch those. So it's just the same way we do it with leach lines, with leach wells. It rests them, for half a year, or 1 year, whatever. So this is a filter bed, your drain lines, your supply lines, and then your drain line coming out. They will typically, they should almost typically come wide out together to one French drain or a collection line that goes to the surface. So here's side profile. If we cut it in half, you can see what we have here. You're going to have your cover, and you're going to have usually gravel covered with here says 2 inches of hay or straw, and then you have your collection pipes, your supply pipes, and your sand filter, and this is where your water is collected and drained out. So you can see how deep you are with this collection pipe. So just a mental note, if you're doing a filter bed, it's not going to be the same elevation as these. you're going to have a hillside, you're going to be looking for that line to come out.